Hello. I sometimes wonder a lot about how we're affected by advertising and marketing. Um, I, as you can see, I've been around a few years, and come from a time when, of course, there was advertising and marketing, but it was far less intrusive than it is now, um, and and uh, there is so much advertising and marketing in everything that we do that it's really very difficult not to be exposed to it for a lot of the time, um, and it's so much so that advertising and marketing it has almost become part of the things that we want to do. Well, you only have to look at, say, looking at sport on television. I find that quite interesting. People maybe in the UK complain about the BBC TV licence, but then if they go to ITV, which doesn't get anything from the licence, ITV have to have advertisements and for many years we've been happy with that. BBC gets its money from the licence fee, and ITV gets its money from adverts, and we put up with the adverts. But if I watch sport on the television, I have to pay a subscription to it, and I have to have adverts. They really do think we're idiots. I think they're getting twice as much money for what they do as either ITV or BBC, and the money that I pay each month is more than the licence fee, and no doubt the advertising I've not checked, but it seems to be more intrusive than it is on ITV. So they seem to be getting the best of all worlds, and I sort of just accept it. But how much does it influence me? I've noticed, for instance, with the sport, I'm not particularly picking on sport, that the advertising is a lot of the advertising when the sport on the television is about gambling. So people who have who want to market and sell gambling to us do so during sports broadcasts. And of course they would, wouldn't they? Because those are, if we watch sport, we're perhaps more prone to want to say, I know who's going to win, and I did pick the right person last time, so I might as well put some money there and actually make some money. Of course, we all fail to realise that the people who make the big money out of gambling are the people who run the gambling companies, and the rest of us don't make anything, and some people lose a lot. I can't really comment because I don't actually gamble at all. Not because it doesn't actually look good. It does look attractive, but I'm just not really any interest in it. But some people have an interest in it, and some people do it recreationally as well, and enjoy it, and can control it, and other people can't. But the advertising doesn't take any account of whether you can control it or whether you can't. I do. Some of the adverts say gamble responsibly, don't they? So no matter, it's a bit silly really, isn't it? They have a tagged on the end of the advert, gamble responsibly, as though it's going to make any difference whatsoever. But I just wonder really, I suppose, more about free will. Whether we really ever had free will or not, I don't know. But I suppose free will is actually not a binary thing. You don't either have it or you don't have it. It's a sliding scale, and the more free will you have, I suppose, the better. Is it good to have free will, or is it good to be programmed by other people. I don't. It depends on your point of view. I can't really comment for everyone else that it's good to have free will. But for me, I like to think that I've got some free will. Of course, I haven't got total free will. I'm constrained within my environment. I can't make decisions that might be fanciful decisions because I'm just incapable of doing that. I suppose, if you like the word theoretically, if there is actually nothing to stop me making some weird and outlandish decisions and acting on them, legal ones I mean. Well, I don't, because of the constraints that operate on me, the way I've been brought up, the way I've lived my life, the position I'm in, the responsibilities I have, all sorts of things constrain me from taking action, and so that means that I don't have complete free will. And it also probably means that complete free will might not be such a great thing either, for the world. I mean, how much of the way we act should be about making us happy, and how much of it should be about doing the right thing for our families and friends and the environment we live in, and the other people in the world. Of course, we've lived through an era where there's been a lot of things available to us. The technology has advanced a lot. Living standards have increased a lot. Nowadays, I guess, we still have poor people living less well than the majority, but often they'll have televisions, and they'll have fridge freezers, and they'll have other things that poor people many years ago didn't have. So being poor might not be very pleasant, but it's probably a little bit more pleasant than it would have been a long time ago, because overall we've made progress. So the poorer people are a bit better off, and the richer people unfortunately are a lot better off. So we are sort of constrained within our environments, but we've had this period where we've been allowed to think that there's an endless supply of things that we can consume. We can want new I mean, now we've started to notice that there's a problem with buying clothes frequently and throwing them away after wearing them once. You could never have thought about it logically and concluded that that was a great thing to do. It was always stupid, but we have to wait until we see the problems created by buying clothes and throwing them away after wearing them once, and creating a mass landfill of clothes and a massive waste, and polluting our planet. So we unfortunately had to wait for that. It's the same thing, I guess, with CO2 and burning fossil fuels. I suppose if you'd have just given it a bit of thought at the beginning and said, if we carry on throwing millions and millions of years worth of accumulated carbon back into the atmosphere, we are going to change the atmosphere. I mean, that was always there to be thought about right from the beginning, but we've had to wait until we can now see the problems created by us doing exactly that, throwing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and the problems that it will unfortunately create for our planet, and then us, and then everything else on it. But maybe maybe if we'd have thought a bit more, we perhaps could have avoided the situation we're in, and I guess you can avoid it now by still denying it, but you can deny it as much as you want, it's still going to happen. But I suppose the positive thing is that we are now starting to realise that we do take actions. Unfortunately, our human society does create actions and activities which do have severe and negative consequences for future generations, and maybe we've just learned enough about what we're doing and the way we're doing it and what's happened in our past to start to do things a little bit differently and start to think about things up front and say, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe it is a way we could all get energy better, or a way we could all look nicer, or a way that we could make life easier for ourselves. But of course, if we give it a bit of thought, we can see that it's going to be harmful to the future generations, of the generations which are to follow us. These are questions that we probably didn't have to ask before. That previous generations did want to make life better for their future generations, for us, and indeed most of them succeeded because our civilizations advanced enormously. Those generations did do that, but unfortunately, as part of making things better, we learned how to do a lot of damage as well, and we didn't see the damage part, we just saw the making things better part. We're now in a position to see that the things we do that we intend to make things better can actually do a lot of damage, and we should be intelligent enough to realise that we should take action more cautiously. That doesn't mean to say we shouldn't learn how to do all the things, because we're the human race, and knowing things is important to us. But it just means that we shouldn't actually do everything that we find out about, and maybe we should be a little bit more humble and not try to get things that pollute everywhere, and maybe in contrary to some of the advertising slogans, maybe you're not worth it, maybe you're not worth destroying the planet for, and indeed you're not worth destroying the planet for. So stop. I guess we should all stop consuming excessively because we think, oh, somebody told us we're worth it. It's what a load of nonsense. So I guess the truth is, you're not worth it. You're not worth destroying the planet for, and you shouldn't listen to the people who tell you you are, because the reason they're saying that is to benefit themselves. The reason they're saying that is to make you buy more products that pollute the planet. A bit like that advertising campaign years ago, which tried to encourage people to throw away all the things in the house and go and buy new stuff because it was old and not fashionable. And I mean, fashion, wow, what a great way to destroy the planet that is, fashion. It's some people deciding what looks good this year, and fashion only lasts a little while. And some people decide what you should look good in, and you believe it because you think that anybody looking at you is not going to think you're good if you're not fashionable. But you never ask them, do you? You never ask them whether you look good or not, and even if you did, they'd say yes, you do, because they don't tell the truth anyway. But they probably judge you by what they've listened to. Maybe you should be wearing. What a great way to destroy the planet fashion is. it's a great industry, and it earns the countries a lot of money, but it also has severe consequences. It means that we have to get rid of things that are perfectly good. I don't mean just clothes. I mean furniture and wallpaper and carpets, anything. We need to get rid of them because they're no longer fashionable. Even fireplaces, for goodness sake, it's no longer fashionable. So we get rid of it, and people buy new kitchens and new bathrooms because the ones they've got aren't fashionable. Not because they can't have a bath, but because they're not fashionable bathrooms. I mean, how did we get to this place? But we really need to draw back from it and start doing things where we think a little bit about the consequences for our world, for our environment, and we stop believing that we are worth it, because I guess at the moment there are about over 7 billion, that's over 7,000 million people in the world, and it's a growing number. And if every one of them is worth destroying the planet for, well, we're in serious trouble. And if it's just you, well, you're in serious trouble, I think. So I really don't. You can't blame everything on advertising and marketing, because it's a very difficult thing, because the companies that are successful are the things that create the wealth for us all to live by. They provide jobs for young people, and they provide environments, and they provide reasons to do things, and reasons to know more things. Their industry and organisations are the way we live, and they're a very important part of you and me. So I'm not saying that they should be removed by any stretch of the imagination. That they're very, very important. They're very, very important parts of our life, but maybe they should start realising what an important role they play in not just making money for themselves and of course providing jobs for lots and lots of people and making money for shareholders. Maybe they should start to see, all of them should start to see, that they're part of the whole infrastructure of our environment, our world, and maybe they should draw back from taking actions and developing actions which are going to damage the planet. Maybe every new product in every boardroom, in every company, should say, right, this is a great product idea, but will it harm the environment? Let's have a think about that before we launch it. And if it will, let's not do it. Let's think of another way to do it, or let's think of a way we can change it so that it won't harm the environment. We've got to start living like that, I guess. We really do. I feel that it's so difficult for me not to harm the environment on a daily basis. Here I am sitting in a room with lights on, recording things, and I'm using energy, using quite a bit of energy, but I don't really need to. And then if I did upload this video onto YouTube, then that would use more energy, and then if any, I was going to say if everybody watching it used energy, but nobody ever will. But the point is, everything I do really it consumes energy, and it's not. I'm not trying to say don't do any of those things to myself. I'm just trying to say have a think about it, and have a think whether you want to do it or not, and whether it's necessary, how much energy I'm actually consuming. Maybe I should be a bit more minimalistic about it. In fact, the LEDs, they are LED lights that are illuminating this room at the moment, and so I'm confident that they are not using too much energy, and my solar panels on the roof generated a lot more energy than these are using anyway, although it is dark now and so they're not generating any. But the point is not what my individual situation is, but that I'm prepared to think about it from time to time, and I'm prepared to realise that all of my actions have some effect on the environment. And do I need to go that far? Well, the reason I need to go that far is because we've got to a position that we're in. We've got to a really dangerous position, I'm led to believe, where the future of our planet, and therefore the future for our future generations, is looking fairly bleak, and we're causing it, and we really need to try and put things right if we can, and certainly stop making things worse. Did I blame all this on advertising and marketing? If I did, I think it's a bit of an overkill, but it certainly plays a role, and fashion plays a role, but it's what we choose to do with the information we receive which is really important. So you can get away with blaming other people for your own actions for a little bit of time, but eventually somebody will hold you to account for your own actions, and you've got to look at what you do, and not what other people are doing or not. The reason you're doing it is because somebody else has made you, or somebody else has told you to do it. You've got to make your own decisions, and the decision we've got to make now is about the future of our world.